My name is Alexandra Polasco. I'm a graduate student in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at UCLA. I feel like it's sometimes you're halfway between a real job and still being in college, to be honest. Because some of the time I am the teacher when I TA, and I put on this role of being the authority and knowing a lot more, or at least thinking I do. And then sometimes I'm also still a student and still taking classes, at least in the first couple years, and even sometimes throughout. And so as a graduate student, it means having to kind of think outside the box and be independent and find out information for yourself. If you have a question, you look online, you read papers, you become the expert on something, even as small as some new technique or machine, or people then are like, well, they ask you the questions and you're supposed to know. In undergrad, I studied environmental science with an emphasis in microbiology. And then I worked, though, I was an intern in a civil and environmental engineering lab. And I honestly liked environmental engineering because it combines all the different sciences. Like anyone from any background can go to graduate school for environmental engineering. My mom is an environmental engineer, and she's a consultant and she pretty much implements the things that I research, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But that also means that she can call me on my bullshit all the time. Like, oh, she's like, honey, no. Yeah, she's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And they're like, oh. But it was, I kind of resisted for a while. I was like, Mom, that's your thing, okay? I don't know if I want to be anything environmental. But it was meant to be. I think when she had me, like, right after birth, like, that afternoon she was on the phone with the EPA talking. She's like, yeah, I just had a kid. But anyway, how's it going? How's the proposal? So, like, from the womb, I was hearing about these things, I guess. A little bit of both. So usually when you come on to a team or in a lab, the professor will have some idea of what you're going to work on, right? Because they have to fund you, and usually the funding comes from a project. And they'll be like, okay, you have a background that actually fits pretty well with this project. So, for example, I'm working on this project that's trying to optimize bacteria, right, for these harmful pollutants. And I had a background in that in undergrad and high school. And so my advisor is like, okay, here's a couple questions. Here's an idea we have. Can you implement this? And that's where then I'm the one, though, in the lab, making the solutions, running the actual experiment, pressing the buttons, doing all the manual labor to get the answers. And then the professor is there to ask kind of the questions of why, how, and like what's going on. So in research, it's really, you could spend all your days answering a billion type of questions that would be interesting to know, but unfortunately we're not paid to answer all questions. We're paid to answer sometimes very specific questions. And so that's the only problem, you can get in a little bit of trouble if you start straying away too much. Yeah, so for example, we work with like the med school. So a lot of times the things that they make actually can be applied to the environment and to contaminants, as well as maybe things in the body. We work, which is kind of cool, and so we sometimes reformulate their ideas for our research. We also work with the biochemistry people, and sometimes we'll help them understand bacteria. Like, for example, one of the people wants to try to figure out how to filter water or salt water, and they're trying to figure out how do I make it so bacteria don't attach to the filter. And so they come to us and we help them. But remember, you always have to remember in this field, only one person gets to be the first author, really. And our line is about publishing papers and getting information out there. And so, yes, we definitely foster that, but at the end of the day, we still, someone has to be the lead, and someone has to really do the 80%. It's like 80-20 kind of thing that happens. Yeah. I think my favorite part is when we're in a meeting with my lab and we're discussing these novel new ideas, our research that no one else knows yet. And we're talking about all the really specifics that honestly no one else will probably ever know or want to know. But I feel like sometimes I'm in this own little world of science and of knowledge, and it feels cool. Like I know my family, I have no idea, like my brother has no idea what I'm doing and no idea what I'm talking about, but I feel like I get to enter this like special little world, and then I get to translate it to the public. And so it's like I get to be this bridge between the super specifics of why and how and literally every little detail about something, and then literally just put that into like a little package and present, and then be like, here, this is basically the idea. So it's like it's very few things you get to see from like start to finish, especially like I think maybe a corporate job where you're like your one little piece, and maybe down the road you'll see something finished. But this is no, you don't get your degree unless you see something start to finish. My personality, I guess, is very outgoing, and I like being social, but also I like to kind of take myself seriously and my work seriously, and I like to be the one to know why. I think if you're the kind of personality that likes to know why, and you see something and you kind of do your own research, then I think, exactly, you're a curious mind. If you're kind of a curious person, I think this type of work you'll really enjoy, and you have to enjoy it to do this work. Because 6 years is too long to just do something like, yeah, I'll get through it, right? You can get through a job or maybe for a year and a half, or okay. But for this type of job, you really have to love what you do, because we don't get paid a whole lot. And it is a very long time, and sometimes frustrating. Sometimes we don't get answers, and you don't know, right? All the questions I'm answering, no one knows. And that's kind of unsettling too, right? Or you're like, I'm used to having some type of answer, someone to tell me the answer. And so a personality that is okay with that, is okay with chaos, is okay with, I've learned also that you have to have really good time management skills and a personality that is organized, but you get to a point where you have so many things on your plate that you can just handle stress and anxiety and just kind of like step back from it. Confidence too, it's really good to have confidence, otherwise no one here is going to give it to you. And so it's kind of a harsh reality I had to learn, but a good one. I won this recent award called the New England Biolab's Passion in Science Award. You had to give like a little TED talk. It was like the first presentation where I felt like someone wanted to hear from me other than my lab group or everything else I've ever done has been, okay, you're applying for a grant, here's writing, great, you got the money, sorry you didn't get it. This is the first thing that was like, we're going to value you because of your passion, your dedication, and we want to hear from you. And they give you like a little travel grant, but this award was not really about the money. It was more about like, we want to get you out there as a communicator, as a scientist, and I got to talk to this like huge audience, and it was like the first time I was like, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like, of communicating just to everyone and of any background, and not just like at a conference, right? We have like a very select group of people that are trying to criticize your work. These people were like, wow, what are you doing? This is cool. That's awesome. I think it's being a woman in science is becoming much more prevalent and much more accepted and much more desired, which I think is really great. I think it's really cool. There's a lot of women's scholarships. There's a lot of emphasis on having women in engineering and keeping women in engineering, and that's a really good thing, I guess, if you're thinking about this career, is that you are wanted and you're desired and you can do it. And I would say my biggest mentor besides my mom was in high school. I worked in a lab as they had a high school internship thing. And I remember the PhD student was a woman, and she took me seriously. And as a high school student, we kind of joke. We're like, yeah, they can't do anything. And I can't trust a high school doing anything. But this person, for some reason, took me seriously. It was like, I'm going to teach you these things. I had no idea whether she was teaching me things that were advanced or basic. I was like, this is great. And I think that started my curiosity and started me. I was like, oh, she takes me seriously. I should take this seriously. And I'm curious. I want to do my own outside research. And then in college, I had a female mentor as well. I had a lot of female mentors. And my advisor now is female. It was cool to see a strong women in science, I guess. Like literally, they've all been. Yeah, so I TA an introductory environmental engineering course, and that's really cool because that you get to advertise your research. And hey, if anyone wants to work in the lab, come talk to me. And I hold like a little seminar for my students. And then I also mentor right now one girl. She's in environmental science and is applying to grad school right now. And she's been in the lab and works with me for the past like 8 months. As a mentor, you teach them everything. I not only teach them how to make something, but also reasons why. I always explain reasons why. Otherwise, you forget. I would say don't overload yourself. I think it's really easy to do. And don't freak out. It's okay. I feel like I freaked out a lot. Like, oh no. And you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that kind of passed, and that was okay. So, it's all gonna be okay, and it's okay to like get a no, and it's okay to fail. I think failing is part of actually having great success. Yeah. I've done a lot of it, so yeah, I gotta say that was good. Cool. If you want to reach out to me, Alex Polasco. You can email me at apolasco@g.ucla.edu. But we'll put that. You don't have to write that down. And
do you have Twitter or Facebook?
Have Facebook. Absolutely, reach out Facebook or Instagram. That would be really cool. I'm always happy to answer questions and emails, and that'd be great.